She worked all day. She came home at 4:45 with 6 people to feed and 1 skillet on the stove. By 5:30, dinner was on the table, and nobody ever knew how tired she was. These are 25 lazy one-pan dinners your grandma made when she was too tired to cook. Number 17 fed 6 people for under 90 cents in 1962. Number 9 vanished completely when the microwave arrived. Number 1 was the best thing you ate all week, and she made it on the night she had nothing left to give. Subscribe before we begin. The countdown starts now. Skillet lasagna. All the flavor of baked lasagna, without the oven, without the layering, and without the 45-minute commitment that no working mother had on the Tuesday night. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1963. Today, around $5.50. Lasagna noodles broken into pieces, ricotta, mozzarella, canned tomatoes, and garlic. Total then, under $1.50. Today, under $9. Fed 6. You brown the beef with garlic and drain the fat. You add broken lasagna noodles, canned tomatoes, and water. You cover and simmer 20 minutes until the noodles go tender. You drop spoonfuls of ricotta across the surface and scatter mozzarella over the top. You cover 2 more minutes until the cheese melts. The sauce goes deep red. The cheese melts into white pockets. The kitchen smells like an Italian Sunday on a Tuesday night. Skillet lasagna came from Italian-American working mother kitchens in the 1950s as the weeknight answer to the baked version that took all afternoon. King Ranch chicken skillet. The Texas casserole turned into a one-pan weeknight dinner. The dish that every Texas grandmother made and that nobody outside Texas could quite explain, but everybody who tasted it immediately understood. A whole cooked chicken cost 79 cents in 1965. Today, around $7. Corn tortillas, cream of mushroom soup, rotel tomatoes, cheddar, and onion. Total then under $1.50. Today, under $10. Fed 6. You shred the cooked chicken. You tear corn tortillas into pieces. You mix the soup with rotel and a splash of broth in the skillet. You stir in chicken, tortilla pieces, and onion. You scatter cheddar across the top. You cover and cook 15 minutes on low until everything melts together. The tortillas soften into the sauce. The cheese melts through. The rotel gives it a slow, green chili heat. King Ranch chicken came from Texas ranch kitchens in the 1950s, named for the legendary King Ranch, though never actually made there. By 1965, it was the church potluck and weeknight standard across the entire state. Johnny Marzetti. The Midwestern church basement legend. The dish that fed every potluck, every school cafeteria, and every working family across Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois from the 1920s straight through the 1970s. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1962. Today, around $5.50. Elbow macaroni, canned tomatoes, 1 onion, green pepper, and cheddar. Total then under $1. Today, under $8. Fed 8. You brown the beef with onion and pepper. You drain the fat. You add canned tomatoes, dry macaroni, and water. You cover and simmer 15 minutes until the macaroni goes tender. You scatter cheddar across the top and cover 2 minutes. The macaroni absorbs the tomato. The cheese melts into orange pockets across the surface. The kitchen smells like a school cafeteria in 1962. Johnny Marzetti was invented at Marzetti's restaurant in Columbus, Ohio in the 1920s, named for the owner's brother. By 1950, it had spread through every church cookbook in the American Midwest. Salisbury steak with mushroom gravy. The TV dinner favorite that grandmothers made from scratch in one skillet, and that tasted nothing like the frozen tray everyone compared it to. The real thing was a revelation. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1963. Today, around $5.50. Breadcrumbs, an egg, 1 onion, mushrooms, beef broth, and flour. Total then under $1. Today, under $8. Fed 4. You mix beef with breadcrumbs, egg, and grated onion. You shape into oval patties. You brown them hard in the skillet until a dark crust forms. You remove them. You cook sliced mushrooms in the drippings. You whisk in flour, then broth, until a dark gravy forms. You return the patties and simmer 15 minutes. The gravy goes deep brown and glossy. The patties go tender. The mushrooms soak up everything. Salisbury steak was named for Dr. James Salisbury in the 1880s and became an American home and TV dinner staple by the 1950s. By 1963, the skillet version was a weeknight standard nationwide. Skillet macaroni and tomatoes. The simplest supper on this list, the most honest. Macaroni, a can of tomatoes, butter, and 20 minutes. The meal a grandmother made when there was almost nothing in the house and payday was still 2 days away. A box of elbow macaroni cost 15 cents in 1961. Today, around $1.49. A can of tomatoes, butter, sugar, and salt. Total then under 30 cents. Today, under $3. Fed 5. You boil the macaroni directly in the skillet until tender and drain most of the water. You stir in canned tomatoes, a spoon of butter, a pinch of sugar, and salt. You simmer 10 minutes until everything thickens together. The tomatoes break down into a thin, sweet sauce. The butter makes it rich. The macaroni soaks up all of it. Macaroni and tomatoes came from Southern and Appalachian thrift cooking in the early 1900s. By 1961, it was the end-of-the-week supper in working-class homes across the entire American South. Chicken chow mein skillet. The American version, not the Chinese original. The 1960s suburban one-pan dinner that came partly from a can of la choy and partly from a grandmother's imagination, and tasted completely unlike anything served in China. A whole chicken breast cost 49 cents a pound in 1964. Today, around $3.49. Celery, onion, canned bean sprouts, soy sauce, cornstarch, and chow mein noodles. Total then under $1. Today, under $8. Fed 4. You cook diced chicken in oil until done. You add sliced celery and onion and cook until soft. You stir in drained bean sprouts and a sauce of broth, soy sauce, and cornstarch. You stir until it thickens and goes glossy. You serve over crispy noodles from the can. The sauce goes thin and brown and savory. The noodles crunch underneath. La Choy brought canned chow mein ingredients to American grocery stores in 1922. By 1964, the skillet version was a suburban weeknight standard coast to coast. Your grandmother was not inspired. She was tired. She pulled one pan from the cabinet and made something from almost nothing because 6 people needed feeding, and she was the one who fed them. Skillet enchilada casserole. The flat, stacked, one-pan version of enchiladas that working mothers across the Southwest invented when nobody had time to roll 12 individual tortillas on a Tuesday night. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1964. Today, around $5.50. Corn tortillas, enchilada sauce, cheddar, and onion. Total then under $1. Today, under $8. Fed 5. You brown the beef with onion and drain it. You pour a layer of enchilada sauce in the skillet, then tortilla pieces, then beef and cheese. You repeat the layers. You cover and cook 15 minutes on low until everything melts together. The tortillas soften into the sauce. The cheese melts through every layer. The kitchen smells like a Tex-Mex kitchen on a weeknight. The stacked skillet enchilada came from Tex-Mex home kitchens in San Antonio in the 1950s and spread through southwestern working-class homes by 1964. Hash brown skillet breakfast for dinner. The night she had nothing planned. The night the children cheered because breakfast for dinner felt like a small rebellion against the rules. The night she turned eggs and potatoes into a celebration on a budget of almost nothing. A bag of potatoes cost 29 cents in 1962. Today, around $3. 6 eggs, 1 onion, butter, and cheddar. Total then under 60 cents. Today, under $5. Fed 5. You shred potatoes and fry them in butter until golden and crisp. You add diced onion. You crack eggs over the top and scramble them into the potatoes. You scatter cheddar across the surface and cover until it melts. The potatoes go crisp and golden. The eggs go soft. The cheese melts into everything. Breakfast for dinner came from American farmhouse tradition, where eggs and potatoes were always on hand. By 1962, it was the no-budget weeknight rescue in working-class homes everywhere. Skillet pizza. Before delivery. Before frozen. The grandmother who made pizza from scratch in a cast-iron skillet on a Friday night and watched the children react like she had performed actual magic. A cup of Bisquick cost 20 cents in 1965. Today, around $2. Tomato sauce, mozzarella, and whatever toppings were in the refrigerator. Total then under 70 cents. Today, under $6. Fed 4. You press a Bisquick dough into the bottom of a greased skillet. You spread tomato sauce over it. You scatter mozzarella and toppings across the top. You cover and cook on low 15 minutes until the crust goes golden and the cheese melts and bubbles. The crust goes crisp on the bottom. The cheese bubbles and browns. The kitchen smells like a pizzeria on a Friday night. Skillet pizza came from American home kitchens in the early 1960s after Bisquick promoted the recipe on its box.
Wagon wheel skillet. The dinner the children requested by name because the pasta was shaped like wagon wheels, and that small detail made an ordinary beef and tomato supper feel like an event. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1966. Today, around $5.50. Wagon wheel pasta, canned tomatoes, 1 onion, and cheddar. Total then under $1. Today, under $8. Fed 6. You brown the beef with onion and drain the fat. You add canned tomatoes, dry wagon wheel pasta, and water. You cover and simmer 15 minutes until the pasta goes tender. You scatter cheddar across the top and cover 2 minutes. The pasta wheels catch the tomato sauce in their spokes. The cheese melts into orange pockets. The children always ate the wheels one at a time. Wagon wheel pasta dishes became a children's dinner favorite in American homes in the 1960s after the pasta shape gained national popularity. By 1966, it was a weeknight standard for families with young children. Hamburger corn casserole skillet. The Midwestern farmhouse supper that combined the 2 cheapest things in any working family's pantry, ground beef and corn, into one pan that fed a whole table for under $1. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1963. Today, around $5.50. A can of corn, canned tomatoes, 1 onion, and elbow macaroni. Total then under $1. Today, under $8. Fed 6. You brown the beef with onion. You drain the fat. You add canned corn, canned tomatoes, dry macaroni, and water. You cover and simmer 15 minutes until the macaroni goes tender and everything thickens. The corn stays sweet and bright. The macaroni soaks up the tomato. The beef settles into every bite. Hamburger corn casserole came from Midwestern farmhouse kitchens in the 1940s, where corn and beef were always abundant. By 1963, it was a one-pan weeknight standard across the entire American heartland. You remember the pan,
the weight of it. The dark patina from 30 years of Tuesday dinners. That pan is a time machine, and it is still in your cabinet right now. Skillet beef stew. The stew that did not take all day. The stovetop version a grandmother made in one pan in under an hour, when the Sunday Dutch oven version was simply too much for a tired Wednesday night. A pound of stew beef cost 69 cents in 1964, today around $7.99. Potatoes, carrots, onion, tomato paste, and beef broth. Total then under $1.50, today under $12. Fed 5. You brown the beef hard in the skillet until every surface is dark. You add onion and soften it. You stir in tomato paste, then broth. You add diced potatoes and carrots. You cover and simmer 45 minutes until the beef is tender. The broth goes deep brown. The beef softens into tender pieces. The vegetables absorb the beefy liquid. Beef stew came to America through Irish and English immigrant kitchens in the 1800s. By 1964, the one-pan stovetop version was a weeknight standard in working-class homes across the Northeast and Midwest. Chicken divan skillet. The fancy dinner made simple. The dish a grandmother served when guests came over and let them believe she had been cooking all afternoon, when in fact she had used one pan and 25 minutes. A whole cooked chicken cost 79 cents in 1966, today around $7. Broccoli, cream of chicken soup, mayonnaise, cheddar, and curry powder. Total then under $1.50, today under $10. Fed 5. You cook broccoli in the skillet until just tender. You shred the cooked chicken over it. You mix soup, mayonnaise, and a pinch of curry powder and pour it over the top. You scatter cheddar across the surface. You cover and heat through 10 minutes. The sauce goes rich and golden. The cheese melts through. The curry gives it a faint, warm fragrance. Chicken divan was invented at the Divan Parisien restaurant in New York in the 1930s. By 1966, the home skillet version was a dinner party staple in American suburban kitchens. Skillet tuna tetrazzini. The elegant-sounding dinner made from a can of tuna and a box of spaghetti. The dish whose Italian name made it feel special, and whose ingredients cost under $1, and whose taste justified both. 2 cans of tuna cost 58 cents in 1962, today around $3.78. Spaghetti, cream of mushroom soup, mushrooms, peas, and Parmesan. Total then under $1, today under $7. Fed 5. You break spaghetti and boil it in the skillet until tender. You stir in the soup, drained tuna, mushrooms, peas, and a splash of milk. You scatter Parmesan over the top. You cover and heat through 5 minutes. The sauce coats every strand. The peas go bright green. The tuna breaks into tender flakes throughout. Tetrazzini was created in San Francisco around 1908, named for opera singer Luisa Tetrazzini. By 1962, the tuna skillet version was a weeknight standard in American working-class homes.
Sloppy Joe skillet. Not on a bun. In a bowl, over rice, or scooped with bread. The one-pan version a grandmother made when she had ground beef and no buns, and 6 children who did not care how it was served. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1963, today around $5.50. 1 onion, green pepper, ketchup, tomato sauce, brown sugar, and mustard. Total then under 70 cents, today under $7. Fed 6. You brown the beef with onion and pepper. You drain the fat. You stir in ketchup, tomato sauce, brown sugar, and mustard. You simmer 15 minutes until the sauce thickens and goes glossy and dark. The sauce goes sweet and tangy. The beef soaks up everything. The kitchen smells like a school cafeteria on a good day.
The Sloppy Joe came from Sioux City, Iowa in the 1930s, credited to a cook named Joe. By 1963, it was a one-pan weeknight standard in working-class homes coast to coast. Skillet Swiss steak. The tough, cheap cut of beef pounded thin and braised in tomato gravy until it surrendered completely. The dish that turned the least expensive steak in the butcher case into a Sunday-quality supper on a Tuesday budget. A pound of round steak cost 59 cents in 1964. Today, around $6. Flour, canned tomatoes, 1 onion, green pepper, and beef broth. Total then under $1. Today, under $9. Fed 4. You pound flour into the steak with a mallet. You brown it hard in the skillet. You remove it. You soften onion and pepper. You add tomatoes and broth. You return the steak. You cover and simmer 90 minutes until fork tender. The gravy goes deep red and thick. The steak goes completely tender. The kitchen smells like a slow Sunday supper. Swiss steak came from American and British braising traditions in the early 1900s. By 1964, it was a weeknight way to make cheap beef tender in working-class homes everywhere. One-pan kielbasa and cabbage. The Polish and German supper that filled an entire kitchen with the smell of a butcher shop on a Friday afternoon. 1 link of sausage, half a head of cabbage, and 25 minutes. A pound of kielbasa cost 69 cents in 1965. Today, around $4.49. Half a head of cabbage, 1 onion, butter, and caraway seeds. Total then under $1. Today, under $7. Fed 4. You slice kielbasa into coins and brown them until the edges caramelize. You add sliced onion and cook until soft. You add roughly chopped cabbage and caraway seeds. You cover and cook 15 minutes until the cabbage wilts and soaks up the sausage fat. The cabbage goes sweet and dark. The kielbasa flavors everything. The kitchen smells like a Polish butcher shop. Kielbasa and cabbage came to America with Polish and German immigrants in the 1880s. By 1965, it was a Friday staple in working-class homes from Milwaukee to Pittsburgh. Skillet macaroni and cheese with hot dogs. The children's dinner. The meal that every working-class American child of the 1960s requested by name. Boxed macaroni made richer with sliced hot dogs browned right into the pan. A box of macaroni and cheese cost 19 cents in 1963. Today, around $1.49. A pack of hot dogs, butter, and milk. Total then under 60 cents. Today, under $5. Fed 4. You slice hot dogs into coins and brown them in butter in the skillet. You boil the macaroni in the same pan and drain it. You stir in the cheese powder, butter, and milk until the sauce turns orange. You fold the hot dogs back in. The cheese sauce coats every elbow. The hot dogs go crisp at the edges. The color is impossibly orange and perfect. This dish came from American home kitchens after Kraft introduced boxed macaroni and cheese in 1937. By 1963, the hot dog version was the default children's weeknight dinner nationwide. One pan. A pound of whatever was on sale. 25 minutes. That fed her family for 30 years. The pan is still in your cabinet. Use it tonight. Beef and macaroni skillet. The homemade version of the canned beefaroni every child of the 1960s knew. Made fresh in one pan, it tasted 10 times better than anything that came out of a can. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1963. Today, around $5.50. Elbow macaroni, canned tomatoes, tomato sauce, 1 onion, and garlic. Total then under $1. Today, under $8. Fed 6. You brown the beef with onion and garlic. You drain the fat. You add tomatoes, tomato sauce, dry macaroni, and water. You cover and simmer 15 minutes until the macaroni goes tender and everything thickens. The macaroni soaks up the tomato. The beef settles into every bite. The kitchen smells like a lunchroom in 1963. Beefaroni-style beef and macaroni came from Italian-American home cooking and was commercialized by Chef Boyardee in 1958. The homemade skillet version stayed a weeknight standard in working-class homes.
Skillet hamburger stew. The poor man's beef stew. Ground beef instead of stew meat, the same potatoes and carrots, half the cost, and done in 30 minutes instead of 3 hours. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1962. Today, around $5.50. Potatoes, carrots, 1 onion, canned tomatoes, and beef broth. Total then under 80 cents. Today, under $8. Fed 6. You brown the beef with onion. You drain the fat. You add diced potatoes, carrots, canned tomatoes, and broth. You cover and simmer 25 minutes until the vegetables go tender and the broth thickens. The broth goes deep red brown. The potatoes soften and thicken everything. The carrots stay sweet and bright. Hamburger stew came from Depression-era thrift cooking, when ground beef replaced stew meat to save money. By 1962, it was a weeknight standard in working-class homes everywhere. Chicken and stuffing skillet. The 1970s convenience dinner that combined chicken and a box of stovetop in one pan, and that tasted like Thanksgiving on an ordinary Wednesday night. A whole chicken cut up cost 49 cents a pound in 1972. Today, around $2.99. A box of stuffing mix, cream of chicken soup, and butter. Total then under $1.50. Today, under $8. Fed 5. You brown the chicken pieces in the skillet until golden. You stir cream of chicken soup with water and pour it around the chicken. You sprinkle dry stuffing mix over the top and dot with butter. You cover and cook 25 minutes until the stuffing absorbs the liquid. The chicken goes tender. The stuffing soaks up the broth and goes soft. The kitchen smells like Thanksgiving on a Wednesday. Chicken and stuffing skillet came from American home kitchens after stovetop stuffing launched in 1972. It became an instant weeknight standard nationwide. Skillet ham and potatoes. Monday night with a leftover Sunday ham. Sliced thick, fried with potatoes and onions in one pan, and turned into a brand new meal that nobody recognized as leftovers. Leftover ham cost nothing because it was already there. 4 potatoes cost 20 cents in 1963. Today, around $2. 1 onion and butter. Total then under 30 cents. Today, under $4. Fed 4. You dice potatoes and fry them in butter until golden. You add diced ham and sliced onion. You cook together until the ham edges crisp and the onions go soft. You press it flat and let the bottom crust go dark. The potatoes go golden and crisp. The ham goes salty and brown at the edges. The bottom crust is the best part. Ham and potatoes came from American thrift cooking as a way to honor leftover ham. By 1963, it was the Monday after ham supper in working-class homes everywhere. Hamburger noodle casserole skillet. The all-American one-pan supper. Ground beef, egg noodles, tomato, and cheese. The dish that defined the working-class weeknight dinner across the entire country for 30 years. A pound of ground beef cost 39 cents in 1963. Today, around $5.50. Egg noodles, canned tomatoes, 1 onion, cream cheese, and cheddar. Total then under $1.25. Today, under $9. Fed 6. You brown the beef with onion. You drain the fat. You add canned tomatoes, dry egg noodles, and water. You cover and simmer 15 minutes. You stir in cream cheese until melted and scatter cheddar over the top. The sauce goes creamy and rich. The noodles soak up everything.
The cheese melts into a golden layer. The hamburger noodle casserole came from Midwestern home kitchens in the 1950s and became a one-pan weeknight standard across America by 1963.
One-pan beans and cornbread skillet. The Southern supper that cooked the beans and baked the cornbread in the same cast-iron skillet. One pan. Two parts of one meal. The supper that fed working families across the South for under $1. A can of pinto beans cost 15 cents in 1962. Today, around $1.49. Smoked sausage, 1 onion, cornmeal, buttermilk, and an egg. Total then under $1. Today, under $7. Fed 6. You brown sliced sausage with onion in the skillet. You add the beans and simmer 10 minutes. You pour cornbread batter directly over the top of the beans. You slide the whole skillet into a 400-degree oven for 25 minutes. The cornbread bakes golden on top. The beans bubble underneath. The sausage flavors everything.